welcome to the food talk. It's very famous, food talk. It's famous because I said so. I've been calling it the famous food talk long before it actually got famous, but now it actually is. And
okay, hang on, let's stop. Betsy, if you read forward, you go in the frame. So we either need more students in the frame or none.
I want 0 students.
Okay, 0 then.
I'm gonna scoot back.
Yeah.
How's that?
Excellent.
How's that?
Perfect.
Thick?
Yeah. Okay.
Ready?
Go.
Cool. Welcome everybody. This is it. The first day of the rest of your life. Some of you, your first day of your life already started when you got here, but this is the first day that the knowledge will meet the actions that are making the rest of your life. So, glad you're all here. I'm going to start by telling you my intention and my background at the same time. They kind of go together. My background is that I came from a place, a background where I used to eat worse than anyone you've ever known. So I am intimately familiar with eating, just garbage. All I basically grew up eating was cheeseburgers and pizza and brownies and Coca-Cola. And that's it. I never ate fruit. I never did nothing until I was in my 20s. I didn't even eat a piece of fruit until I was 22 years old. Had to go all the way to Africa to eat my first banana. Yes, this is true. So I'm coming from a place so far skewed in the direction of eating poorly that you need to understand that I'm not coming from a high horse talking down. I'm coming from the same level as you, just talking straight. Okay? So my background is from there, and later on I learned and got lucky to learn what I'm going to share with you. But I certainly didn't come from a position of knowing anything about what I'm talking about here. So my intention is not to change your life, not to change how you eat, not to change anything. You are welcome to do whatever you want to do. Okay? I'm not going to love you any more if you eat one way. I'm not going to love you any less if you eat a different way. Now, of course, this is teacher training talk. So teacher training talk, you don't have any choice about what you're eating for the next little while. But at some point, when the teacher training is over, you're going to have a choice. Okay? You're an adult. Everyone here over 18? Yes? Okay. So if you're over 18 and you're watching this, that means you're an adult and you can do whatever you want, especially with food. Okay? So I don't care what you do. I'm not here to change you. I'm not here to change your life. I'm here only to do one thing, which is to give you information. Okay? I'm here to give information. And information, another word for information is knowledge. Agree? Knowledge? And you ever heard this saying that says knowledge is power? Okay? So the more information that we have, the more knowledge we have, the more power we have. Do you know why that is though? Anyone consider actually why knowledge is powerful? What does it do for us that not having it doesn't do? What?
Gives us choices.
Yes. Gives us options, gives us choices. So with knowledge, we know that there's more than one way. Okay? Whereas before, it's kind of what we call being handcuffed to our own ignorance, is that we just didn't know that there was anything other than what we already grew up doing. So information, knowledge, is powerful because it gives us an opportunity to see different directions. And then, once we see the different directions, we can choose to go anywhere we want. But if you don't have the knowledge to see the map in front of you, how can you choose to go anywhere? Okay? So knowledge is power. I'm not here to change you. I'm here to give you information, which is power. I'm here to empower you. And then at some point, if you think that any of the stuff that I'm saying makes sense, you can apply it. And if it doesn't make sense, you don't have to apply it. But nonetheless, the beautiful thing about the teacher training, like I've already told you, is that I'm kind of forcing you to eat the fruit of the experience of which I'm describing. And if you're not in the teacher training, you're just watching this, then understand that the way to do it is to take 1 week or 2 weeks and just be a scientist and just play around with the stuff we're talking about, see if you like it, see if it makes sense to you. Okay, but do it absolutely, because otherwise you don't know. All right, so that's my intention. Give a little bit of knowledge. At some point, you are a scientist. You experiment with it. You say, "Hey, this works for me. Hey, this doesn't work for me." In which case, then we shake hands as adults, and we move on, and we get along. I have plenty of meat-eating friends. Trust me. They don't know what they're doing. But they're still my friends. You know, I don't care what they eat. I don't care what anybody eats. The only person I care about who eats is me. You know? That's it. I care about what I do. I don't care about anybody else. I don't judge. We leave all judgment to God. How on earth could I judge somebody for doing something that I used to do myself? This is the height of hypocrisy. And I don't play hypocrisy. Okay? I used to eat all this meat, so you do it now. That means that's cool. That means I'm lucky now and you're not lucky. That's all it means. Okay? It's not about right or wrong. It's not about I have a cape and I'm flying through the sky as super vegetarian person and I'm better than everybody. I'm nobody. I'm just lucky and I got some knowledge early and I learned all this in 1998, 99 and I've been very strict in its application, relatively speaking. So I'm lucky and that's it. Okay? So that's my intention and that's where I'm coming from. Make sense? Okay. Because a lot of things I'm about to say, to some degree, might be the opposite of things that you've heard, or in many ways just plain different. Okay? In either case, you know where I'm coming from. So, and I also say don't take my word for anything I'm going to tell you. Don't take my word for this stuff. I don't want your faith. I don't want your faith. If what I'm saying doesn't make sense to you, just don't do it and don't believe it, because I really don't care. Okay? I don't need you to believe me, alright? It's either logical to you or it's not. It's absolutely the same to me. Okay? Why? Because I only care about what I do. Okay. So here we go. We're going to talk about meat first. Meat. Let's define meat. Let's define it, because unless we define it, alright. So meat is cow. Meat is chicken. Meat is salmon and all your other fish. Meat is goat. Meat is human being. Meat is anything that is not a plant, it's dead. Okay? And rotting. And anything that's not a plant, it's dead and rotting is going to act or behave in your human system the same exact way. So a dead, rotting fish putrefies exactly the same way as a dead, rotting cow, which putrefies exactly the same way as a dead, rotting person sitting on the ground. Dead bodies of any species putrefy and rot exactly the same way. Okay? That's it. Now, we're going to talk about meat. We're going to talk about it in a few different dimensions. We're going to start talking about it in the physiological realm. We're talking about what I consider to be the physiological evidence that suggests that we're not really designed to eat animals or dead flesh, rotting meat. So there's a little bit of evidence, and let's see if it's logical to you. It makes sense to me. Evidence that suggests we're not really made for this. And first evidence is something called comparative anatomy. Okay, comparative anatomy means that they take animals and they can tell you what the animal eats by looking at the digestive structures and comparing them, and then they see it and then you know. Well, first, before we get to that, which we're going to get to, we got to figure out, what are we? What are we? Who are you? Okay, if this was a yoga question, I ask you, who are you? Then the correct answer would be, I am Atman. I am eternal, like the meditation we gave today. So that's kind of who you are, but that's not the question I'm asking here. Here I'm asking, who are you? Means what kind of species are you? No, I didn't ask what do you eat. I asked, what species are you? Okay, okay. Well, I did ask what kind. You're right. So let me get to that. What kind of species are we? What family are we? Anyone heard of primates? Heard of that before? Did you know that we're primates? Okay. Okay. Well, now it's time to learn. We are primates. Okay. Primates divides into two classes of primates. Anyone know what they are? Primates, two divisions. And again, I'm not going to get into evolution because I don't believe in it the way that it's expressed.
With a tail and without?
Yes, and so what are the names? With a tail is what? What is the name of a primate that has a tail?
Okay.
A monkey.
A monkey, yes. What's the name of a primate that does not have a tail?
Gorilla.
No.
Ape.
An ape. A gorilla is an ape. As are we, apes. Okay? So we are members of the great family of great apes, which happen to be the fruit-eating, big-brained animals on Earth. Okay? That's who we are. Now, if you take our digestive structure, in other words, if you take a human, a chimpanzee, an orangutan, a gorilla, a gibbon, those are the great apes basically, and open them up, and open one of us up, you're going to see digestive structure mirror images Okay, we have the same structure, the same relative length of our torso to our intestines. I mean, we have the same structure. Okay, you can just see it. They're mirror images of each other. What that means in terms of science, for real science, okay, not pseudoscience, but real science, what that means is that we eat the same thing. That means that if we have the same digestive structure as a great ape, that means we're designed to eat the same thing that they eat. Okay? Well, what do they eat? Well, I know what they eat. I know what primates eat because I worked in a primate center. Okay? For years. So when I talk about what primates eat, when I talk about what great apes eat, trust me, I'm not talking about theory. I did not read this in a book. I'm not guessing. This is not theoretical. I worked in a primate center for multiple years. I saw them get fed. I saw, in this primate center in Miami, called Monkey Jungle, which is a tourist venue, but they happen to have one of the greatest collections of primates in the world. Okay? And I worked there, and they have chimpanzees, they have a mountain gorilla, they have orangutan, they have everything. I saw them eat everything. You know what they eat? 100% fruit. You want to keep a mountain gorilla healthy? 100% fruit. Okay. Now, what I don't understand, because it's fascinating to me, is that we tend to care more about the discipline of what we feed the animals in our zoos than we care about our kids or ourselves. So for example, we're able to take a scientific and a look at this mountain gorilla, look at its digestive structure, and then apply it so that this animal lives in health for its entire life. And we do that by giving it food according to its natural dietary. You ever see the signs by the cages of these important animals? What do they say, those signs? Do not feed the animals. That is the fastest, easiest way to kill them. Feed them the wrong thing. Feed them what you eat. Yeah, you want to kill a mountain gorilla? Feed it what you eat. Just one meal. Just one meal. It'll die. I mean, imagine the zookeepers trying to celebrate the mountain gorilla's 21st birthday and bringing them a case of Coca-Cola and a bunch of ice cream cake and a sausage pizza. The animal would hemorrhage and just die from eating something so far in violation of his dietary. But again, I'd like to question, how come we consider ourselves so intelligent? We're able to apply science to the animals in our zoos to make sure they're healthy, because a vet will never, ever tolerate a change in the diet. Never. That's it. Vets know. You want to keep it. It's the diet that keeps the animal healthy. It's nothing else. So how come we're applying science in a logical way to every other animal, every other species on the entire planet, except us? And we call ourselves intelligent. See, humans are not intelligent. We're not acting smart. We're the only species on the entire planet that does not know how to eat. And who eats ourselves to early death. We're the only ones who eats food that has already been destroyed or is worthless before we even eat it. We are in a class by ourselves of lack of intelligence, and yet we seem to be able to apply it to the other animals. It's fascinating. Okay, and I just bring it up for that reason. Now, we have this digestive structure. It's 12 times the length of the torso, same as these other guys. They eat 100% fruit. We're really supposed to eat as much fruit as we can because we are great apes. We're primates. The more fruit we eat, the better for us. That's really our thing. Why? Well, because of this design. This 12 times the length design is very compressed. There's a lot of space, a lot of places, a lot of wrinkles, actually. Places where things can get stuck and hide away for a while. Now, you ever heard that you need fiber in your diet? Why? For regularity, they say, right?
Clean it out.
For regularity, so they say. Well, you need fiber. They say, okay, good. Well, it's true because your system uses peristalsis. The intestinal system moves stuff through a snake-like concentric contraction of the muscles. But fiber is what is going to be grabbed. Okay? So if I lay a bunch of sand here on the ground and I take a rake and I rake the sand, I ain't going to rake too much because you can't rake sand. There's no fiber. There's nothing to grab. But if I throw a bunch of little twigs and leaves and stuff into the sand, then there's a good chance I'm going to get to rake that through. Not dissimilar from what is happening with ourselves. When we eat things that do not have fiber within them, they will get stuck. And when something, and by the way, meat, dead flesh, rotten flesh, has no fiber. So all of this stuff has a very likely potential to get stuck, and when it gets stuck, ooh, this is starting to become a scientific experiment of really nasty proportions. So let's take a pot and put a big slab of meat, a couple eyeballs, throw some blood, some sugar, some water. Okay, let's tape that up together and put it out in the tropical sun for 5, 6, 7 weeks. And then let's lock ourselves in a closet with no air and open up that pot. Who wants to be first to be in that room? Feel the amount of putrefaction, the amount of negative biological byproduct and the poisonous nature of that is such that even smelling it, you would have a physical reaction, and if you actually ate it or drank it, you could just die, okay, full on. But yet that's pretty much what we're doing within ourselves, because what I described is a warm, wet, closed environment. And what happens when you put something that's rotting inside of that warm, wet, closed environment? Well, guess what this is? A warm, wet, closed environment. And so when you put something like that in there, you're going to have a possibility for major decay and putrefaction. And the results of this are absolutely disgusting. And I don't mean that in any kind of a judgmental way. I'm just talking base use of the word. Literally disgusting. Okay, would gross you out to imagine this kind of a process happening inside of yourself. It's disgusting. And what happens is these really nasty molecules leak into your intestines. They leak into your blood through your intestines, and it causes all kinds of really difficult, in some cases difficult to put your finger on symptomologies, like headaches or lack of concentration or irritability or acne or bad breath or negative, who knows what these small things can be that you don't know. Well, yeah, because you have an IV drip of poison entering into your body from within, though. And then, of course, when you have impacted decaying matter sitting in one place, that becomes irritation. Irritation comes to inflammation. And about 3 steps down after that, it becomes cancer. So you don't want impacted garbage, toxic waste sitting in one spot in your body. The good thing about all this stuff is that with yoga and intelligent eating, within a couple of months, even if you were living pretty poorly for the first many years of your life, within a few months your body just transforms itself. Okay? So no matter how gross this sounds, it doesn't matter, because if it's you, then the time that it will last this is very limited, because all you do is start exercising every day and stop eating garbage, your body cleans itself. Okay? Every river can clean itself. But what do you have to stop doing to make sure that a river can clean itself? What do you have to stop doing?
Polluting it.
Yeah, you got to shut the factories down on the edge of the river. Okay? So if you can do that, the river will clear itself. Okay? And this is just the way that it is. So we have this intestinal structure. When meat goes into that structure, when dead flesh, it rots. So one of the main evidences is that we have a structure like these other great apes. I've seen what they eat. Okay, I'm not guessing. This is not knowledge based on a book. Every day, trays of fruit. Nothing else. That's what they eat, perfect health. So we're designed to eat as much fruit as we can, because fruit has fiber. Fruit has fiber, and fruit has all the vitamins and all the minerals and all that comes in a complete package. See, fruit is also the only thing made on earth to be a food. Nothing else was made to be a food. Not even vegetables. Fruit was made by the trees to be eaten. Okay? So it's really made, for primates, it's made for anything to be eaten. So karmically speaking, from a yoga standpoint, you don't even have to kill the plant when you're eating fruit. Okay? Now, killing plants is okay. Masters of yoga all eat plants, all eat vegetables. That's fine. But just know there are some people on such a high level of consciousness, and I can see that even they won't even want to kill plants. And they will only eat fruit. And it happens to be biologically perfect, as it is also spiritually perfect. It is what it is, okay? The good thing about this talk is really where biology meets physiology, meets psychology, meets spirituality. It's all in a lot better. Our mind feels better, our body feels better, our connection to God is better. Okay, and we are healthier. All from doing the same things. Exercise, okay? Let me just break myself down here. It's not just about food, okay? It's about 3 things. Exercise every day, eat according to what we're talking about here, if possible, and have awareness that your mind has 2 hats it can wear. Your mind can wear the hat of your best friend, or the mind can wear the hat of your worst enemy. And you have to just be aware that that's always possible. And when the hat of worst enemy is on, you have to laugh at that hat. You have to have a sense of humor and say, wow, that criticism, that judgment, that stuff is so unnecessary and so ridiculous, and just kind of have a sense of humor about it. And then you change hats. And then the worst enemy hat becomes your best friend hat. It's called compassion. Okay? And understanding that the world's not an easy place to live in. But nonetheless, it's these 3 factors. Exercise every day, no days off. Eat according to biology, which is this talk. And use your mind with awareness and with a sense of humor, so that it allows you to support what you're doing instead of weakening you. Okay? Because that's really what happens. Alright? So that's really the bigger picture. And now going back to this physiology thing. Okay? So it is what it is. You have your design. When the wrong kind of food goes in it, it rots, it putrefies, showing us that we're not really made for that. Primates never, ever are hunters. And I know all the exceptions. Oh my God, do I know them. I've seen the National Geographic where the chimpanzees kill this one poor monkey that happens to... You know what? There are very aggressive monkeys, apes out there. And when young males get all together, just like when young male humans get all together, there can be a group aggressiveness that comes together, because that's possible. And they can kill anything. And they'll even tear it up and eat it. But it does not make that their food. And yes, I've seen that too. And you want to know what I love? I love the argument that says, yeah, chimpanzees in nature do all this they eat that stuff. And I say, oh, fascinating, because I never ever saw a camera crew in nature. Did you? You want to call that a natural environment with a bunch of humans running around filming in cameras?
Yeah.
How is that nature? So it is what it is, it's cool, but again, these are examples where people take very, very isolated incidents of a violent act caught on TV and use it to justify so much outrageous pseudoscience that it is kind of ironic, okay, or unfortunate, okay? But anyway, I do know every exception, and I will take all questions at the end, okay? Anyway, the next bit of physiological evidence, because I'm done with that part. Your habit digestive structure is what it is. You don't eat you don't need food that has fiber. Rotten flesh has none. It rots and putrefies. All kinds of things can happen from there, none of which are good. Next evidence. Every animal in nature is born. They're born, which means endowed. You know the word? Endowment. You're born with it. Endowed with what they need to physically kill their prey. They're born with it. Okay? So an eagle is born with the wings and the eyes and the talons. The eagle does not have to go to Walmart when it comes to a year and buy a pair of spectacles so they can see the mice on the ground. It's born with it. Okay? Y'all know what a mongoose is? Y'all seen those little mongooses? Okay? You know what mongooses eat? Yeah, cobras. These are little weasels. Yeah, they hunt cobras. They're so fast that a cobra strike will not even touch them. The cobra strikes, they're already out of the way and they got it. Do you think they had to buy that skill? They're born with that. A bear out here, they're born with what they need. Tigers, they're born. A dolphin, do you know how fast a dolphin can swim? Have you ever seen a dolphin when it wants to unleash itself underwater? You honestly cannot believe the power of acceleration these animals. It's indescribable. So that's how it catches fish. It outswims them. Okay? Hunters in the ocean swim faster than the animals. Okay, all right, now let's talk about us. Okay, great. You like to eat fish? Okay, cool. Great. I'm going to take you on a boat.
Just drop you in.
I'm going to tell you, go ahead. You can eat as many fish as you want. You just have to catch them yourself. Go ahead, jump in the water, and catch the fish. Because if you could do that, you could eat all the salmon that you want, because that means God meant for you to do it. But if you cannot jump in the water and catch a salmon in the ocean, It means God did not mean for you to eat that. And I know all the exceptions. I know that you can eat raw fish and survive. Okay? Just don't worry about them. He'll be absolutely fine. Thank you. Let's all just ignore him. I know these exceptions. Okay? And we'll talk about raw food versus cooked food. And I know that if you're Bear Grylls and you fall out of a helicopter and you're, talking about Man vs. Wild, that television show, where they throw him out of a helicopter and now he has to survive. Okay, well, if you get thrown out of a helicopter and you happen to live, okay, first of all, amazing, okay, because most people when they get thrown out of a helicopter don't already have a parachute on, okay, which he always has a parachute on. He's lucky, okay. Most people just die. Okay, but if you're lost in nature and you find an animal, you can eat it raw and you'll live. Because you can live off of raw blood, you can live off of raw nutrients, for sure, you can. The real conversation is not about vegan or vegetarian, it's really ultimately about raw food versus cooked food. And human cultures that have been forced to live on animal foods because they had no choice, because they lived in inhospitable environments. When that happened, the animals that they eat would always be raw. You'll go to the Inuit in Alaska, the Eskimo cultures, they'd eat the animals raw if they had to eat them. Okay? And then you can live. So I understand all these exceptions, but now we're going to get back to it. If you cannot kill this animal yourself with your hands and your teeth, that means that God did not intend for you to eat that animal. And I need you to see that this is one of those things that there's no exceptions about this. Show me an example in nature where the animal's not born with what it needed to do, with the skills that it needed. Alright, so y'all have eaten cows before in your life. I have. So cows are related to buffalo. You know that? Okay. So let's bring a buffalo in here. Or let's just bring a big cow, a big male cow. A big cow. One of the ones I'm sure you've eaten, something like that. And I mean, there's 6, 7 of you, but you know what? I'll even bring in some of my neighbors. I've had 30, 40 people in this talk. Okay? Even more. Let's let all the people in the room, let's let everyone who's ever heard my talk, ever! That's thousands of people. You can all come in and join this one. One bull, all of you guys together. Give me your pens and all your man-made equipment. You got 10 minutes to kill this thing. Y'all seen those bucking bulls? The ones that are like the ones that have to be relied on, I saw one yesterday like on the show. These things are wild animals, okay? Now imagine you guys trying to kill one of those with your hands. Now, if I put two lions in the room, what's going to happen to that thing? Just 2 lions. Lunch. No, not us. Just 2 lions and the water buffalo.
He's done.
He's finished. 2 of them. Why? They're born for that. One is a good fight, actually. Lions don't like to hunt one-on-one. They're pack hunters. But that's it. They're born to kill. They're born killers. But they have the physical capacity to do it. Okay? We don't. What do we have physical capacities for? Climbing trees, eating fruit. This is what God made us for. This is evidence. You don't have to take it or leave it, but this is what it is. And if God made you to be a killer, He would have given you tools to kill. We're not born with these things, except, one exception is when I was driving through Louisiana. It's a pretty weird state. And this thing on the radio, this lady, she was giving birth and her baby, the arm was stuck in the womb. The baby wouldn't come out, arm was stuck. They brought in these specialists, eventually we got the baby out. The baby was holding a Remington 385 hunting rifle with a scope. You didn't hear about that? It was on CNN. Oh my God, no, my God. But you didn't hear about the girl in deep Georgia? Man, when her baby was born, it was with a fishing pole. Ooh. It was retracted, don't worry. Yeah. We're not born with these things. You're not born with nets or guns or things. Oh, I know what you're going to tell me. You're going to say, oh, we're born with the intelligence to make the tools. That's why it's God's will. Well, let me give you a little bit of facts here, okay? Your ability to do mathematics, your ability to critically think, your ability to design things has not changed your digestive anatomy at all, which has remained unchanged for millions and millions of years. Your digestive anatomy is not related to your ability to do calculus or speak multiple languages. Your digestive anatomy has not changed in millions of years. Not thousands, millions. Okay? Now, so we're not born with killing tools, and we also don't have a structure made to eat rotten, disgusting food.
We're wrong.
Okay, so let's talk about dairy. Let's go, everyone. So we're done with meat for the moment. We went over the main three parts. The physical, which I actually neglected one very small detail. We'll talk about the physiological part. It's a simple thing, which is that carnivorous digestive systems have pretty much the opposite one that we have. So whereas ours is long and convoluted and all this happening, because we're meant to eat plant foods with fiber, carnivores, which are meant to eat animals which do not have fiber, their digestive structure looks very different from ours. And theirs are kind of, instead of long and complicated and convoluted, they're actually quite short, wide, and smooth. Okay? Now, we're done with meat. Okay? Let's talk about dairy. Okay? And again, I'll take all questions at the end, so feel free to write out your questions and I'll be happy to hammer them out. So, imagining that we didn't just take a break, and imagining that you didn't just get to fill your water glasses and all of your good green stuff, and you know, you get a little hungry, a little thirsty, but it's okay, because in about 15 minutes my friend's coming over with his wife. His wife just had a baby, so she's nursing. And it's cool, she's gonna be here in about 15 minutes. And when she gets here, I'm gonna tell her, even if she's nursing on like one of her nipples, I'm gonna ask her that I'm assuming that her other nipple is available. And then maybe because you guys are all hungry and thirsty, if in about 15 minutes that, you know, you guys can just form a line and latch onto the right tit. Who's first? No?
No, thank you.
You don't wanna
Okay.
latch on and get your fill of food? You don't wanna,
Talking about that.
Why? Why is it that as a food source, you're not interested in latching on to her nipple, sucking her tit? Is that a bizarre thing to suggest? Would you say that's unnatural?
Mm-hmm.
It's unnatural, I would say. Absolutely. Why?
Because we're adults.
Because you're adults. Exactly. So what is the definition of a mammal? We're mammals. One of the definitions of a mammal is that we lactate for a certain early part of our life, and then at some point there's a weaning process, and then after the weaning process in nature, the animal never ever returns back to the tit. Never. Have you ever seen a National Geographic where you saw an adult giraffe returning back to its mother 4 years later? No. Okay. What would happen if anyone here breastfed? I was not. Were you breastfed? Anybody? Okay, child of the 70s? No way. Yeah, Americans, we don't get breastfed. Were you breastfed?
Yeah, like
No.
we did.
Okay. Anyway, okay, so let's imagine that you were breastfed or not. And if you were, imagine, if God would will that your mother's still alive, you would be able to call your mother and say, Mom, I'm coming home. Don't you think that if you told her approximately what time you'd be there, that she'd make sure that she wasn't there at that time? Mm-hmm. Hey, when you coming, honey? I'll be there at 7 o'clock. No problem. Great. I will not be there at 7 o'clock. That would be, your mother would run away from you if you tried to latch back on to her tit as an adult. Because you're an adult. And the very, very, very definition of adulthood is an organism that has that drinks lactation in the beginning of its life, and then gets weaned, and then never ever returns. Okay? That's a definition of who you are. So there is a weaning process, and then after that, that's it. Done. There is not one example on the entire planet Earth, not one singular example of an adult mammal returning back to its mother. Ever on this earth. And if you want to show me an example of that, I would love to see it. I would love to see an adult animal in nature returning back either to its own mother or to someone that's not even its mother. Or let's go another step further, because this one's even better. Have you ever seen National Geographic, an adult animal If I could sing this in a choir version, I would. Crossing the species barrier and suckling a different animal? We're talking about a breathtaking degree of unnaturalness here. I mean, it's almost breathtaking. We're going to cross the species barrier, and we're going to maintain ourselves as infants for the rest of our lives as we continue to suckle the tit of a cow. And do you want to know what cow's milk was made for? Anyone know? Why did God...
A baby cow.
To make cow's milk. To grow cows. Does anybody want to argue that there is one reason on earth that cow's milk is produced? Why is it produced? For baby cows. So could you say that cow's milk is made to grow cows? What do cows look like? Ever ask yourself that? Okay, well I'll tell you. Cows are roughly 2,000 pounds. They have a small brain for their body weight. They have hoofs. Okay? And if you want to be a 2,000 pound, small brain hoofed beast, the best way to do that would be to drink the one thing God made to grow that. Cow's milk. There's so many reasons why we don't want to take dairy. I'm just giving you the basic stuff first, which is just the obvious stuff, which is like, gosh, it just doesn't make sense that we are an adult and that we would be suckling in any way. And if we're not even going to suckle a human, I already gave you that choice. You won't even suckle a human. Why on earth would you, how on earth is that we're going to cross species barriers and suckle a cow? This is outrageous, and I mean that, truly outrageous. And I understand Ayurvedic history and where it became, and I'll tell you how it was that milk became sattvic. Milk's not sattvic now, it's the farthest thing from sattvic. Milk used to be, or could have been sattvic when it was raw, and 4,000 years ago. Sattvic means pure, means a good thing, means something that's sustaining for your life. But yeah, 4,000 years ago, and the cow walked into your village with its baby cow behind it, and you took a little bit of its milk and shared it with your family, and didn't hurt the cow, and didn't take anything from the baby, and everybody was kind and well. And you were in the middle of a drought, or poverty, you couldn't grow food, and the fruit trees weren't, all these things were working against you. And the cow sustained your family's life. That's what it did. Because you drank it raw. This was thousands of years ago. They weren't cooking their milk. They weren't pasteurizing it. Had power and life force. I already told you raw food. Okay? So historically, dairy or milk was seen as sattvic in the Ayurvedic way of seeing things. Anyway, now, in the modern world, milk is the farthest thing from sattvic. It's basically just poisonous. Okay? And any confusion about that is why I don't give any weight to Ayurveda in its modern application at all. I do not play that game. Too many mistakes. Too many imprecise things that are happening in this modern version of Ayurveda versus the original version, which probably held perfect truth. Okay? But if they can't see the difference between dairy food as it is now and dairy food is what it was then these are people that are not clear enough about how you want to guide people towards health. Because Ayurveda is all about guiding towards health. But if you don't catch this little detail, you can't help people with health, because dairy is one of the most anti-health things you could ever do. It's horrific for us. And I'll tell you more about why. Okay, fine. So dairy is ridiculous. I mean that when I say, it's so unnatural, so silly, it's almost hilarious that we would do it. Imagine that before you eat your meal, I'm going to sit down for dinner, before you eat your meal, I take some mammal that just had a baby, and I squeeze its lactation all over your food. I'm like, squirt, 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 squirt. Just some random, animal just had a baby. And all over your dinner, I just squirt lactation over it. You'd be like, what the hell are you doing? I don't want to eat that. That's disgusting. It is. That's made for babies to drink. You're an adult. You don't take milk anymore. Unless you want to still be a baby. You want to maintain yourself in infancy for the rest of your life, good. Suckle away, because that's what it is. If you think that milk gives you calcium, which is then going to help you against osteoporosis, you have been sold a lovely bill of goods. Because That is the opposite of what happens, and osteoporosis is only found in cultures and locations where dairy food is used in adulthood. Because you've got to understand, not all human civilizations take dairy in adulthood, only certain ones do. The ones that do have osteoporosis. The ones that don't. So it is not in any way that calcium found in milk is going to help you, and here's why. This is the whole thing about pseudoscience, half-truths, and how people are lied to and they believe it so happily. They tell you that milk has calcium. That's true. They tell you that your bones are made of calcium. So that would then imply that the more calcium you get, the better for your bones. You can almost go with that too. Okay, I'm alright with that. But here's the problem. They say one thing that's true, they say another thing that's true, and then they connect the dots, and the connecting the dots is what's not true. So for example, milk has calcium. Yes. You need calcium. Yes. Drink milk for calcium. No. Why? Because if you drink milk for calcium, you're going to have the opposite effect. Because milk, when it's done with your digestive system, is acidic. You acidify your blood taking dairy, cheese, milk. These things are alkaline outside of the world. Outside of your body, you test milk, alkaline. That means over 7.0. You drink milk, it acidifies your blood. Because chemistry changes in the digestive system. The opposite of that is true with a lemon. A lemon, acidic. Test the acidity of a lemon. Acidic out here. You want to alkalize your blood? You want to know what you do? You drink lemon water. Go figure. Because after a lemon water is done with your digestive system, the minerals and all that, it alkalizes your blood. Lemon water alkalizes your blood, it's acidic. Milk is alkaline, acidifies your blood. Now, when your blood goes acidic, your body must fix the chemistry. Because if your body goes acidic, you'll die, actually. So your body has to change, has got to fix the chemistry. And it has ways of doing it. It has alkaline minerals ready to go to its chemistry. Acid, alkaline. You want to get neutral and you have acidic influence, you throw alkaline minerals in there and you get the chemistry to match each other up and you go neutral. What are the alkaline minerals? Calcium and magnesium. And where are they stored? In your living bones. Your bones are alive. They're not dead like you see in the skeleton. They're living. As long as you're alive, your bones are alive. That means that your brain can communicate with your bones immediately. Your brain registers that you just drank milk or ate a pizza and had the cheese, and now your body's going acidic. Your brain tells your body you're going to die now. You have two choices, die or liberate 2 million calcium ions from your left femur. 2 million calcium ions leave your left femur, go into the blood, neutralize your blood, you don't die, but you do have weaker bones. Why? Because you drank milk, which is what they're telling you to drink to help osteoporosis. It is the cause of osteoporosis. All acidic foods and lack of exercise is the cause of osteoporosis. But that's the mechanism. Because your body will draw upon its storehouse of alkaline minerals in order to neutralize the chemistry. Okay? Make sense? Okay. So it almost should be illegal. I mean, so much of this stuff that when you see out there, and after talking, you're like, how is that legal? How is it legal that they can actually say this stuff? You know, and I ask myself these questions all the time, even with vegan food. Okay? Even with foods that are like technically like vegetarian, I still ask myself, like, I can go into the Whole Foods now and go to the potato chip section, okay? Which is like an entire world in of itself. You know, it's like, how can there be so many kinds of potato chips and things like that? Anyway, I love to just read things. I'm just wandering around and I pick up this bag, and it's one of these gourmet bags of potato chips that has different kinds of root vegetables in it. You know what I'm talking about with the silver bag? It's like, okay, it's that one. It has the sweet potato, it has the carrot, whatever the fuck that is. Excuse my language. But it has these things. Now, on the front of this bag, on the front, so it's got all these root vegetables, fried potato chips. On the front of this bag, it says, like with a stamp on the front, it says 4 servings of vegetables. According to a nutritionist, that is acceptable to declare as 4 servings of vegetables. Those are fried. How can anybody, anyhow, talk about something that's fried in a nutritional context as you're getting the value that you would have gotten from eating a vegetable, that there's some implied value there, and you're going to get that kind of value from it. And that's how nutritionists see it. That quality doesn't matter. That as long as it is a sweet potato or a carrot, it's still a vegetable. It doesn't matter if it's raw or baked or steamed or fried. It's still a vegetable to them. But you know what? Even a 3-year-old, if you gave a 3-year-old a fried carrot and a regular carrot and said, hey, 3-year-old, which one do you think is more nutritionally valuable? Which one's better for you? The 3-year-old's going to say that one. This fried, nasty, mangled thing. Even a 3-year-old can tell the difference in nutritional value, but a nutritionist who goes to school cannot. And a medical doctor chooses not to either, because they're not trained in this stuff. See, the biggest flaw with traditional classical nutrition is that a carbohydrate equals a carbohydrate, a protein equals a protein, and a fat equals a fat, and it doesn't matter where it comes from. So that means it doesn't matter the source. So a protein is the same as if it comes from here, the wild green stuff from, the ocean, whatever, or it's the same as it's coming from a fried burger. Because it's a protein. You gotta get certain grams of protein. They're all the same. You gotta get 10 grams of protein a day, and then 14 grams of carbohydrates a day, and then get this much of fat a day. And that's you. And you can get that any number of ways. But how can any idiot think that that's okay? That quality is not to be considered just quantity? This is why people that go under the guidance of classical nutritionists don't get helped. They don't. Because just counting calories and having a diet mentality of always being in deprivation, always forcing yourself to wonder about what you can't eat all the time, and yet there's no analysis that says, you know what, you can eat all the fat you want. It just has to be from an avocado. You can eat all the food you want. It just has to be this kind of food. You can eat as many apples as you want every day. You can eat as much bananas as you want. There's just a bountiful. You can have the biggest salads. You can just eat so much. But it just has to be of the right quality. Okay? And so anybody who's guiding us, but distinguishing qualities, this is someone who isn't demonstrating a mastery of the subject of human nutrition and well-being. And that's why my school is called Yoga Nutrition. Called yoga nutrition, not nutrition, because I do not want to be confused with that world of mainstream nutritionists. I don't even want it. I don't want to be a nutritionist, because if you want to confuse me with those clowns, no thank you. Some of them do know what they're talking about. Very few. Very few. But some of them do. And I've had classical nutritionists do my school. I've had medical doctors do the yoga nutrition school, and they say, oh my God, yeah, medical doctors, my students in the nutrition school, and they're just taking notes the whole time because they didn't learn this stuff. They didn't learn about the relationship between health and these very simple variables. They learned how to identify diseases. They learned how to identify pathology, but they did not learn about the principles of health. And the really enlightened doctors know that. And they know they don't have any skills at all to help people. You know what they say? One of my favorite quotes is, medicine is the art of entertaining the patient while nature takes care of the cure. The smart doctors know that. So the question is, how do we create the environment that the person will heal? And so the bottom line is that's what we're doing with everything. Now, so I'm still in dairy for another second. That was a fun little tangent. I like to do that. but it's pretty clear. But let me just give you some facts. Number one, and this is all in the China study. So if you want to study this stuff, then you know my yoga nutrition school, one of the required books is the China study. One of the best books you'll read in a long time on the subject of human nutrition and well-being, by T. Colin Campbell. China study made a lot of important discoveries, one of which is that they discovered that one thing grows tumors better than everything else. They just figured it out over this massive millions and millions of people that they had as their, in the 20 or 30 years they did the data. One thing grows tumors better than everything else. One thing is the best tumor grower of them all. Casein. Casein, which is the protein found in milk, is the single greatest tumor growth promoter that they discovered. So I'm not telling you that if you drink milk or dairy that you're going to get tumorous growths. I will tell you that if you wanted to get tumorous growths, the best way to do it would be to drink milk or eat cheese. Okay? That would be an excellent way to try to get tumorous growth, but not a guarantee that you would get it. You understand? Casein grows tumors. It's spelled C-A-S-E-I-N. It's the milk protein. So, the other thing about, and also, milk has lactose, and nobody is tolerant of lactose as an adult, because all of us used to have lactase, an enzyme, as a kid. As a baby, as we take our mother's milk, we have lactase to digest it. But we don't produce it after a certain amount of years, and then all humans become lactose intolerant, which has different degrees. Some people feel it, some people don't. But lactose is disturbing to everybody. And if you haven't gone weeks without taking dairy, you don't know nothing about how wonderful your digestive system can operate when the lactose is not bothering you so much. It's just a simple thing. And remember, irritation leads to inflammation. Inflammation leads to greater and greater complications when it's sustained. Okay, so you don't want to continue to inflame and hurt and sustain. We want to not aggravate, not insult our system by putting things that are not according to our dietary in there. All right. So that's dairy. The other thing about it is that in order for a cow to give birth or to lactate, it had to have done what? I already gave an answer. It had to have given birth. Well, what is a cow going to eat and drink if you're going to take the cow's milk? What's the baby cow going to get to eat or drink?
They just get
Junk.
Junk. They get killed. Yeah.
Yeah, they get taken away.
And what's it called?
Veal.
Yeah, that's called veal. They call that gourmet food. To steal a baby mammal from its mother.
And then take her milk.
To steal the baby from the mother. Put the baby animal, which is just a baby animal, like the deer, like anything you think is beautiful and cute. This is a baby animal. Put it in a crate and hammer that crate shut. And this crate is no bigger than where the animal can just sit, because the animal, the baby, is not allowed to stand up, because veal has to be tender and soft. So it cannot stand up even once. It sits there alone, tortured, force-fed in a box. And that is the other side of the dairy industry. So if you think it's all sattvic and okay to take milk and cheese, and then it's just, oh, we're not killing the animal. Oh, yes, you are. Oh, yes, you are partaking in a major death industry. But let's just say you weren't, which you are. Let's just say the animals, you're not killing the babies, which you are. Let's just take the girls, the women, the female animals. Let's just look at their life for a second. And I always love women, female humans, who talk about women's rights, talk about feminine rights, and don't seem to understand that there is an entire species and multiple species out there that only the women are being, only the female versions of these animals are being imprisoned and tortured. The males are just getting killed. That's easy. They just kill all the male chickens. Nobody wants a rooster. Okay? Roosters don't, you don't eat a rooster, and roosters don't lay eggs. So when male chickens are born, they are immediately thrown in the garbage can. And I'm not kidding. They're thrown, they ID, garbage can, baby bird dies of starvation in a garbage can with all of his brothers. Female bird gets pressed up against a red hot iron And so that the beak goes from sharp to flat so they don't kill each other in their future. And you see the animals like that when it's a baby. Okay? And then the female bird goes into jail for the rest of its life, being scared to death and force-fed to make eggs in prison. Can't even open its wings. It's prison. Only the females. Okay? And there's like 200,000 birds in the size of a room like this. The cows. Okay, I will not ask the girls to do this, but if you're a guy, go ahead and take your hand and squeeze your nipple as hard as you can. And don't let it go. Don't let it go. And imagine that was metal and a clamp. Imagine that you are going to just be tortured for the rest of your life. Nice life. Prison. No freedom. You eat garbage. They steal your milk. They take your baby. Only the female cows are getting tortured. Doesn't that resonate with females of other species? As, geez, how can we be so violent to other females? And then we ask for anything. Jeez, the violence we're inflicting, it's unspeakable, really. And keeping them alive is almost worse than killing them. It's almost better to just kill them than the life they have to live. Why? So you could drink their milk, so you could eat their stupid eggs when it's not even your food in the first place? Because if it was your natural dietary, I wouldn't be here talking about this. If we were lions with critical thinking skills, but carnivorous in nature, I wouldn't be here talking about why we don't do that. Because I would say, yeah, let's imprison all the animals because it would be more efficient. That's our diet. We're supposed to eat them. We're just saving energy now so we can read more. Good. That's fine. But we're not intelligent lions. We're intelligent primates. So for us to be doing this is a totally different thing, and that's why I'm here. And why I'm really here is to tell you that the herd, everybody out there, if you haven't figured this out yet, they're falling off the cliff. Everyone's dying of cancer, of mostly of cancer nowadays. We see that as just an epidemic, but not just that. Diabetes causing decay of the body. Okay, so there's sugar diseases, there's animal protein diseases, but these are what? These are food diseases. Fascinating, huh? Our major things, all of it is because we don't know what to do. We don't know how to eat. We treat this thing right here not like a doorway to God. We treat it like it says General Electric, like it's a trash compactor. We look at this hole like a trash. We just stuff everything we can, close it up, swallow, and hope for the best. That is our modus operandi of us in this culture because we don't know any better. And we just don't understand. We don't understand. We seem to understand that for animals in the zoo, we can't do that. We don't understand that we can't do that with ourselves. But we should be able to figure it out because the whole herd, everybody that we know, is dying, young, or is not well. Okay, I do give Dave's brother as an example in this talk. Yeah. I do. Yeah. Okay? Her husband's my best friend. His brother just passed away. Dropped dead in an airport.
1 second.
46 with right. 2 young kids, the whole thing, or multiple kids. But just regular eating, regular lifestyle. You think you're healthy, you're not even close. Okay? Let me tell you, in Vietnam, they had the first time they had access to a huge amount of dead 20-year-olds. We hadn't been in war for a while. Dead 20-year-olds weren't around. They hadn't done autopsies on a lot. Well, in 1977, 1978, they started taking apart all these 21-year-olds and saying, Jesus Christ, these 21-year-old kids have the cardiovascular disease of a 60 or 70-year-old person. And they're only 21 or 22. But their lifestyle is such that their body is basically such that they have processes that are that old. Nowadays, that's happening with the 7-year-olds. Yes. Nowadays, the 7-year-olds are showing the same kind of heart disease, the same kind of dysfunction that you should have had when you were 90 and treating yourself like crap. The acceleration of our degeneration is truly impressive. And if it wasn't so tragic, we would have to just say, wow, that's incredible, how we could go down so fast. Well, when we don't. So the herd is going off the cliff. My parents' friends, a lot of them are dead in their 60s, and that's old nowadays. What we're here to do, or what I'm here to do, is just to express that going off the cliff is not the only option. Okay? There is another option. That there is. Now, I'm not saying that if you do everything that I suggest here, that you're going to live longer. I don't know about that. But what I do know is that every moment of your life will be more fulfilled. I already said that the reason why I do what I do is not to live forever. The yoga part of this talk is that we eat like we eat so that we can experience peace in the moment. And from a spiritual perspective, from an enlightenment perspective, I didn't talk about this from a spiritual point before. If you want to enter deep states of meditation, you want to have a still mind, having less aggressive fear energy in your body is very important. And before an animal dies, it is terrified. Terrified. And when you eat a terrified energy field, you are what you eat. So having terror and fear and adrenaline, because you're literally eating these adrenaline molecules, actually the physical ones, it brings fear, it brings anxiety, it actually creates a psychology related to what we ate because it's vibrating all in us. That's not an environment conducive to deep states of meditation. It is very, very rare to find a yoga master who is not a vegetarian. In fact, I would argue that if they're not a vegetarian, they're not a yoga master. That is one of the lines right there. For all the reasons that I gave you, but also because there's an appreciation to not allowing death energy to enter into your field, and also not wanting to participate in death, and experiencing high states of consciousness. There is a relationship. And so that's part of the spiritual talk, is that if you want to, but again, it's all about the present moment. We don't do what we do to live forever. You're not going to live forever. You do what we do, I do what I do. I don't care if you do what you do. I do what I do. So that in this present moment that I am continually being given, every moment, instantaneously, giving me the present moment, every one of those that God continues to give me, I want to feel as good as I can, as strong as I can, as much peace as I can, as much connection to God as I want to feel as well as I can in each present moment that I've been given, but I don't care about the future. I'm not doing what I do to live long. Might I live longer? That's possible. But might I live shorter? That's possible too. I mean, hell, I could be going to get my organic apple that caused me to die in a car accident. I mean, who the hell knows? But let me tell you, your time of death is already known. You can't. It's already been marked in the universe. It's done. The time you're born, this is what the masters say. Okay, the masters say how you're going to die, all that. No one knows that. That's kind of up to a little bit your free will and all that. But your actual time of death is already predetermined, believe it or not. Fascinating, huh? To imagine that? But it's true. It's crazy, huh? I don't know how. But the masters are absolutely in agreement about that. There's multiple of the most, David Hawkins says that, Nityananda says that, and if those guys agree, those are two 900 level consciousness saying the same thing. Time of death is marked upon birth, okay? Everything else is up to you. Okay? But again, my whole point is that we're not under this illusion that the things that we're doing are going to make us live forever. And we're not doing it for health. We're doing it for present moment enlightenment. Enlightenment. That's what yoga is all about. Not trying to do something for the future. Because the future is the one thing we don't really know, and it's not real. Okay? That makes sense? Happens to be that it's an alignment where what we're doing in the present might also serve us in the future, but that's not why we do it. Okay? Alright, so we've talked about dairy, we've talked about the different reasons to not be taking dead, disgusting, rotten flesh into your divine system. And I'm not talking new agey stuff here, I'm not trying to be all fluffy. That's just facts. Okay? You are divine. There's no other explanation for your life. Now, let's talk about protein, which is kind of like the center spoke in the wheel. Because at some point, someone might learn that you are eating less animal food. And if that happens, they're going to ask you a question. But I need you to understand, and we're going to answer the question full out. This is the easiest question in the world to answer. But I'd like you to know first that it's not a question. Because they don't care about the answer. Only people that care about the answer can be considered those that are asking actual questions. You see, where do you get your protein's not a question, it's an attack. It's an attack. It's an attempt to trip you up so that you stumble in your explanation. And in your stumbling, they can say, look, you don't even know what you're talking about, so clearly you must not be doing the right thing. Because if you were doing the right thing, there would be a very easy and simple answer to my question, which is not a question. It's just simply a tripwire that says, where do you get your protein? So let's first understand that. It's not what it seems, and it is what it is, but we can answer it if we want to anyway, because it's a simple thing. Whenever I get that question, I don't ask this out loud, but I like to ask when I get, hey, where do you get your protein? I like to say, hey, where do you get your brain? Sorry. I'm sorry. That's very mean internally sometimes. Just kidding. I'm not really. I don't care. I can be as mean as I want. I'm in touch with my shadow self.
Fox News, where everybody else gets their brain.
Where do you get your protein? Someone asked me that when I'm done laughing. I'll probably start laughing for a long time. First of all, no one will ever ask me where I get my protein from, because I will never tell them that I eat in any way, one way or the other. The only time I talk about food is when you're paying me to talk about food. That's it. If you think I'm going to talk to you about what you're eating, or what you're doing, or anything about food, you got me wrong. Because I told you I don't care what you eat. I don't care about what I eat. So this question is not a question, it's an attack. But so no one can ask me where I get my protein because I never told them I was a vegetarian. I never told them I'm a vegan. Plus, I'm not a vegan, everybody. I'm not a vegan. I'm a human being who eats in a vegan way because I choose to, and I just naturally do. I'm not a vegan, I'm not in anything. You're not in nothing. These are all identifications. These are not you. I'm nothing. Human. And that's maybe not even that's also a myth. That's also a misidentification, really. But you could almost at least reduce it to that. But I'm certainly not any one thing that you want to give me a title for, because I don't buy that. We're not our titles, we're not our identification. So let that stuff go. You're a human, I eat like a human. That's all I do. I eat like a human. You want to call me something? Call me something. I don't call myself that. Okay? And I will never tell anybody that I'm this or that. All I do is eat my next meal simply, whatever it's going to be. I have a feeling it's going to be plant food. You're going to talk to me about my meal after that, or what I'm eating next year. I'm not going to talk about the future. I don't talk about the future with you. I don't talk about the future with myself. I will never say to myself, I'm never going to eat this again. Because if you say you're going to never do something again, you're going to potentially bring up a deprivation psychology. And if you bring up it, see, I could almost say at this point, I'm never going to eat meat again. That doesn't bring up any deprivation for me at all. Because I have no attachment to it at all. But what if you said, I am never going to drink coffee again for the rest of my life? Never! And you would yes. And what if people that like chocolate, I told you, you can never eat chocolate again for the rest of your life. What are you thinking about right now? Going to the store? Okay, so what you need to appreciate, this is very important, guys, that our greatest enemy a lot of times is what we're going to call the psychology of deprivation, which we will create for ourselves if we set up some sentence structure that says, I'll never do this again in the future. Well, the future is absolutely irrelevant. The only thing that is relevant is just right now. Or maybe the next meal, like I said. So I can just tell you there's a 99% chance that my very next meal, there's not going to be any animal foods there. That's about all I can tell you. Nothing else interests me. I don't care about next year. I don't care about what I'm going to do 10 years. I don't care about forever. None of that's real. So why would I want to trap myself into a corner and tell you anything. And by the way, I don't want to tell you anything anyway, because the only reason why I do what I do is for God. I don't do it for you. I don't care about what you know. I don't care about what you think. I don't care about you. I care about God. I do what I do for that. Okay? So I'm not going to tell you anything about what I'm doing. Because the less you know, the better. Because we're not here to talk about that. Unless you're here to pay me, and then I'll tell you all day about what I do. Because you want to learn. No problem. But we're just in life? Because I don't open the door, you cannot attack me. You understand? I don't, and as I told you, I'm not wandering around the world with a cape on my back, being super vegan. Saying, oh my God, I'm better than you. You shouldn't eat this, because if you eat this, you're that. No, you're a human, like I'm a human. I'm luckier than you. There's no doubt about that. I'll say that. I'm luckier than you, because I have more knowledge, I have more information, I'm more powerful than you. There's no way. There's no way around that. I am more powerful than you. But I'm not better than you. We're all just humans, and we're all doing our best. Like we say, when the student is ready, the teacher will appear. Until then, nobody can ever be faulted for existing at their own level of consciousness, because that's God's will at that moment, to be in that level of consciousness. You can never ever fault or blame anyone for being in a lower level of consciousness in that moment. We're here to evolve consciousness. That's why you got incarnated. If you were going to have perfect 1,000 level of consciousness according to that system, you're not going to incarnate. Chances are you're already connected to God, and there's no reason for you to come back to form. We're continually coming back to form so that we can continue to grow and evolve consciousness. Okay? But again, we are all where we are all at, and that's just perfect because that's God's will. Okay? You can't blame or judge or anything. Neither yourself or anybody else. We leave all judgment to God. And don't open your mouth, because whatever you talk about, chances are you will not do it. Get ready for that fact. You know how many times people tell me, I'm going to do this, this, and that. I'm going to quit this, this, and that. If you're really going to quit it, you're not going to tell me that you're going to quit it. You'd already quit. And when you already quit, you wouldn't have told me that you quit. You just quit. There'd be no talking, there'd be no words, there'd be no conversation, because the problem with telling everybody else about what you're doing is that then you're not doing it for yourself anymore. Now you're doing it for them, and you have to perform. And when you have to do it for them, it's not real anymore. It's not legitimate, it's not authentic, and then you're very likely to get knocked right off, because you don't have that foundation of why are you doing it? I'm doing it for myself. Screw you. Screw everybody. I do what I do for myself, for my own reasons, and the only relationship that matters is the one between me and God. So you don't need to know anything. I'm not going to talk about this. I'm not going to open up the door for you to attack me. We're just going to be humble and quiet and do our thing and give thanks. And if people happen to see how goddamn good we look and want to know why, then you can slowly first ignore them completely. And just always, and by the way, never talk about food during a dinner time or a lunchtime. That's a law. If you're at dinner or lunch with somebody and they want to start talking to you about what you're eating, you don't allow it. You literally say, if you'd like to talk about food, I'd be happy to talk to you. Let's schedule an appointment at 2 p.m. tomorrow. But at the dinner table, not about food, because you do not want to talk about this stuff while they're about to eat it. No. There's no talking about food at the dinner table. There's only talking about family and life and fun stuff. Okay? They eat what they eat. You do not look at it twice. Like, how can you eat that? How can you eat that? No, you don't do that unless you don't want that relationship. If you don't want that relationship, then just flick your eyes one time, and you will never have that relationship again. Because people hate to be judged. Just like I do. Who the fuck are you to judge me? You don't know me. You don't know nothing. Now, you might be right, but you might not be right. And how do we know? And the point is, we leave all judgment to God anyway, and we can really, really betray feelings of judgment through looks in our eyes. Okay? So, as a personal example, my dad. Okay? in the days when I was enthusiastic about this stuff and evangelical, and I would try, can I see my dad eating like crap, and I know he has a heart disease, he's on all these medications, and he's, it's just, I could see this is not the trajectory I would have preferred. And early on, 15, 18 years ago, I'm trying to coach him and this and that, and all I'm doing is pissing him off. Really, just because he doesn't want to change. He likes what he eats. He doesn't see himself as being a problem. He doesn't see it. He just sees that that's normal for him, and he's on medication, that is with everybody else. He doesn't want to change. And it's not interesting, so what I was doing by being that way and talking about this stuff to him was I was losing a relationship. Yes. I was making it so that they never wanted to eat with me. Never. They would want to go out to dinner, but would never invite me. Because they knew that if they invited me, I would make a stink out of this stuff. Now, over the many years that have progressed, this is very, very poor form. Over the many years that progressed, they have seen me change. They've seen that I never talk to them about this ever. I don't talk about, even when they try to bring it up, I don't even want to talk about it. I don't want to talk about it. I just want the relationship to be good. That's it. So if I go out to lunch with my dad, thank God he's still alive, and I take advantage of that. And I go to lunch with him as often as I can, and he'll eat, sometimes I can control what he eats because I'll order for him 2 vegan burgers, Screw you, God, you're eating what I eat, screw you. And then when he's done eating, are you hungry? It'll be no. But a lot of times, he'll eat whatever the hell he wants. And I will never look twice. Never. It's as if he's eating the same thing as I'm eating. But that's a skill. It's a skill to be able to detach and be free and not judge.
Yeah.
God, this judgment, it's a killer. For us and for the person we're judging, it just destroys the relationship. And we have no business judging because we did the same thing ourselves anyway. How the hell can we judge people for doing what we already did? This is a very important point. Okay? But my point is, if you don't open your mouth and you don't tell people what you're doing, how can they attack you? And if you don't tell people, then you will do it for yourself and not for them. Okay? You open your mouth. You understand that you are a vessel of energy. Okay? It's like a battery. Let's look at it like you're a battery. And in your battery, you can put energy to whatever direction that you want. You can put your energy into the accomplishing of whatever you want. But understand that if you open your mouth, you grew an extension cord. And now you just plugged in the battery into something that is going to be draining you. The mouth and the words out of your mouth are essentially all of your energy leaving you. There are 2 kinds of people in this world. Those who talk and those who act. They are rarely the same people. Okay? The less we talk, the more we do. Talking doesn't do anything good for anybody. Was it doing good that you tell the other people? Why? What? What's the value that they know that? How could that be? Nothing. Okay? So with information, less is more. Nobody needs to know what they don't need to know. And when it comes to you and your personal sadhana, trust me, they don't need to know. You will express it in your eyes. And I always tell you, the first time they talk to you and they say, hey, what are you doing? You ignore them. Because they're not really interested yet. You're not really interested yet. They're still just challenging you. Let me tell you, anyone who asks you a question, and if you don't answer, and then the conversation's over, that person didn't care about the question. So if they're asking you, what are you doing? What are you doing? Oh, you look so good. And you're saying, oh my God, no, what do they work? And then the conversation devolves, and then it never goes back to the question. That's a person who didn't care about the answer. Because if you ask me a question, if I ask you a question, and I listen to your answer, and then I realize immediately that you did not answer my question at all, I'll repeat my question. I'll say, that's a lovely talk, thank you. But now, I just asked you a question, which is, why do you look so goddamn good? How come you looking younger every week? I'm not looking younger every week. You are. Why? God damn it. So why do you look so good? This is the questions. Damn, I haven't seen you in a while. What's so different about you? Why are your eyes looking so bright? But you ignore it. You're not interested. The third or fourth time, now they're getting interested. You say, look, I use a Sun Warrior protein because it's a vegan thing, and I drink some green stuff and I do yoga a lot. That's what I do. You don't tell them, I'm a vegan, I do 100% of this and I'm all of that. You underplay it. You always underplay what you're doing. You always just give them a little tiny push in the direction of what you're doing, but you never go absolute about it because you're not evangelical. Just a little thing. And if you're at the dinner, this is another strategic move for you. You're out to dinner with your regular friends and they know you always eat surf and turf. You get that, you get X, Y, or Z, but now you're at dinner with them, your favorite restaurant, and you don't get that. Now you got pasta with marinara sauce, something vegan. And they're asking you, why aren't you getting that? You don't say, I'm a vegan now, I'm a vegetarian. You don't say nothing. You just say, I'm just not that hungry tonight. I just felt like this tonight. There's no like, I'm different. And it's just, I already ate. Why are you eating a salad? Oh, no, I actually already ate before I came. Well, what else can we talk about besides what I'm eating? Because trust me, we're not going to talk about that. Because we never talk about that at the dinner table. Because it only leads to relationship problems. Understand? Our relationships are more important than what other people eat. Right? Right. Everyone is doing their best given the knowledge and the resources that they have. Now, resources is a multi-dimensional thing. That means financial resources. It also means mental resources. So given the mental resources they have, they're doing their best. Given the financial resources they have, they're doing their best. Most people are so busy working to pay for their kids, and the stress, and the divorce, and the this, and they just, most people are so busy doing that, they don't have any time to study anything. They don't have time to learn anything. They're going to just take what they read off the newspaper. They don't read the newspaper. They're going to get off the TV. They don't have time. They're going to just take what the most popular person is saying at the time and go for it. Because there's just no time. This luxury here is outrageous. Outrageous. That we could read any book ever. I don't have kids. I have a huge luxury in my life to not have kids. I mean, having kids is great, maybe, I don't know. But there's a huge luxury to not having kids because it gives time to do this kind of stuff. Not very people can do that. This is luxurious. So we're lucky, once again, to have access to knowledge and power so that we can apply to our life and feel better. Most people are stuck with the pressure. The only way out of it is usually with alcohol or some other narcotic to try to numb the suffering, numb the torture. We talked about that. That's fair. Makes sense. But our blessing is that we have these other tools. We've got the food. We know that we don't have to eat this because we know that the protein thing isn't real. I'll talk about protein now. We have these other things too. Let's talk about protein and we're done. The word protein is a myth. And is absolutely a worthless word. Itself is the source of your confusion. Because when you eat something, you don't want to eat protein. No, you don't want to get protein. You want amino acids. See, amino acids are what protein is constructed from. There's different kinds of protein. You see, protein that a chicken produces, like chicken skin or chicken muscle meat or chicken heart, is a different protein molecule than a human heart or a human muscle. You understand? So it's just like a cow protein is different from a human protein. So they're different molecular structures. Now, they're all built off of something called amino acids. So our human protein is built from amino acids. A cow's protein is also built from amino acids. And any other animal's protein, meaning that their body, when I say their protein, I mean their body, their structure, is built from amino acids. Amino acids, there's only 20. 10 are called essential. They all end with like nine, arginine, aspartame, that kind of stuff. Methionine, it ends with ine, it's usually an amino acid. 10 are essential. That means that you've got to get them from the external world, from your food. 10 are not essential. That means if you got the first 10, your body will biosynthesize the second 10. between these 20 amino acids, your body builds human protein. You build your own muscles from amino acid level. Even if you ate a chicken, do you think you would use the protein in the form that you ate it? Let's say you eat chicken because you were told to eat chicken for protein. What happens to the chicken that you ate? Are you going to use it like you ate it? If you use chicken protein as chicken protein, what are you going to look like?
Chicken.
Chicken. How come you don't look like a chicken? Because you eat chicken protein. It's called digestion, by the way. Digestion breaks it down to the level of amino acids. And then once you have amino acids, now of course this chicken was cooked, so your amino acids are deranged and absolutely worthless to you. Because they're cooked, they've seen fire. So they're just actually worse than anything. Okay? But nonetheless, say that you ate the chicken raw. Let's just pretend that you did. Now you eat chicken raw, you've got to break it down into amino acids. Once you have amino acids floating around in your blood, your body builds you from scratch. You build your own self, you build your own heart, your own lungs, your own brain from your amino acids that you get from your food. You understand? Now, I'd like you to agree with me that when I say that a chicken or a cow has already built its own muscle from its amino acids, that muscle, I'm going to call it previously constructed protein. Are we okay with that verbiage? That the muscle of a cow is a previously constructed protein, meaning it's a protein that was already built by the cow. The cow ate grass. Do cows eat other cows?
No.
No.
How does a cow get its protein?
The grass.
Does it eat protein shakes? Okay, so cows get their amino acids like all herbivorous animals do. Elephants only the most powerful animal on earth. Where does an elephant get its protein? Does it hunt? It eats only leaves. And yet it has the most powerful muscle mass on earth, and it moves trees like they're toothpicks. A mountain gorilla eats only fruit, can bench press 3,000 pounds. Some say 5,000 pounds. That's the power of this stuff. So where do you get a protein? Amino acids. Amino acids, you build your own protein from scratch. Okay? Now, let's talk about what we're being told. Because I'm a logical person. I like logic. And if you want to tell me that I have to eat animal food for protein, well, let's see if that's true. Okay, good. You want me to eat animal food for protein. That's a point on an argument right here. Eat meat for protein. Eat chicken, eat cow. Here on the line, whatever. Just this dot. Same line of argument. Okay. So you want me to eat meat for protein. What would be the best animal for me to eat? What would be the best animal for me to eat?
Human.
Human. Because what protein do I really want?
Your own.
What protein is the best one for me to eat?
Your own species.
Human. That is the argument that they're making. And if that doesn't disgust you, and the reason why it's so disgusting is it's so ridiculous. You do not use protein from eating the animal that you ate it. You've got to get to amino acid level, which wastes all your energy and digestion to do that. You waste all this energy, precious, vital energy, to try to get this stuff down to amino acids so that you can build yourself up from scratch. All we need is our amino acids. When you have all 20 amino acids in your body from your dietary, the conversation about protein is literally a non-conversation. And let me tell you this now. Every amino acid is formed in the plant kingdom. The amino acids are built in the plant kingdom. That's how the animals got them in the first place. From eating the plants. That's it. There's only one source of all amino acids. It is the plant kingdom. There is not one amino acid that is found in the animal world that did not first come from plants. Not one. So the idea that you can be protein deficient when you have all of your amino acids is impossible. This green stuff happens to have all amino acids in it. Okay, just so you know. But like I said, a wide spectrum of fruits, vegetables, nuts, and seeds, all amino acids are there. Easy. Protein deficiency, impossible. Truly, truly impossible. and a fear tactic that the meat and dairy industry has unleashed upon us to try to get us to keep killing ourselves. They want us to keep killing ourselves, so they're coming up with this pseudo.
Can you pick it up
I know where to start.
from the athletes?
Yeah.
All the athletes.
Oh, we ready?
Your butter. That's why I made that.
So,
Okay, guys.
All right, moving
All right,
forward.
set.
All the athletes are buying into this protein thing, and they're listening to this nonsense that animal protein is better for the development of their muscles. No, you cannot eat yourself to muscles. No matter what you eat, it ain't gonna help your muscles. You only exercise to get your muscles. So, animal foods, animal protein is the worst way to get your amino acids. It's what I call a rotten vector. In other words, you're gonna get your amino acids from somewhere. So if you're gonna get them from somewhere, why would you want to get them from a source that also has all of these other horrific attributes? It's a rotten vector. It's the worst way possible to get amino acids. Plus they're cooked, so you didn't even get them anyway. Oh, they're raw. Okay, then you get your parasites with them. There's just no way around it. Okay? So, protein is about amino acids. Amino acids are all in the plant kingdom. That's where the animals got them in the first place. So you can never be protein deficient. It's impossible. You want to be athletic, you want to eat a lot of protein, fine. Eat these protein powders that are the raw vegan protein powders, like the Sun Warrior brands. And those things are going to be protein, heavy amino acid sources that will not harm you. But if you drink heavy amino acid sources from an animal, like a whey or these dairy proteins, that will harm you. Okay? So if you want to eat a lot of protein because you want to pretend that that's going to help you in your life, it won't. But if you want to just have bigger muscles, fine. You have to work your ass out every day. And you want to eat a lot of extra amino acids, fine. Make sure they're from a plant and they're raw. Okay? And there are many products like that out. But do not go into this protein powder animal world. I told you the story already, I'll repeat it again, that the guy who was a star of that TV show, the Spartacus show, who was in his 20s, who looked like the most healthy, most brilliant human, he was dead within 8 months. Why? Because of probably an overuse of protein and steroids and all the other things that come together that don't help us. Okay? Animal protein's horrible, plant protein's good. What we're made for. You cannot really overdo plant proteins. Animal proteins are overdone on the first bite. Okay? Okay, so that is the protein point. If anyone wants to talk to you about where you get your protein, you can laugh. And when you're done laughing, you can tell them don't worry about it, because protein is simply a function of amino acids, and you're getting all your amino acids, so you don't have to worry about it. But thank you so much for your concern, and you really appreciate it. And just neutralize them. Okay? Wasn't a question anyway, so you don't have to answer it. Alright. I think I've basically done here with the first level of this talk. I could of course go on and on and on and on and on with lots of other stuff not related to this, but I will pause for now. I will accept a couple questions. Nothing? Can't believe it. Gosh, that must have been a thorough talk. Not one question. Alright, so if there are no questions, then we will adjourn for this session. We will reconvene soon come.
I'm kind of curious about
The AFA?
Exactly, yeah. Oh,
The AFA, I'll talk to you a second. This is, the reason why it's valuable is the following, okay? It's a wild food, like I told you. So it has wild power and wild strength. It's a whole food. You only get nutritive qualities from whole foods. You do not get anything from a vitamin or a mineral pill that's been cooked. That just gets excreted untouched, okay? Worthless. Vitamins, mineral pills, worthless. If you're not taking it from a whole food, your body does not read it. So this is a whole food. This has every amino acid. This has every vitamin. This has every mineral in the entire periodic chart. It has all the essential fatty acids that you're supposed to eat for this stupid eating fish. The reason why I tell you to eat fish, essential fatty acids, so that your skin looks good. But again, why do you want to eat parasitic nuclear waste to get nice skin? Because that's not going to really work. If you want to get your essential fatty acids from the first sources, not the second source. So this has all your essential fatty acids, so your skin, you look young and all that stuff. And of course, the fatty acids have many other uses. It has every nutritional factor that the human body requires. It fills in all the gaps. It is a base biological organism. It's independent. This is one of the only organisms on Earth that does not live in symbiosis with anything. The antioxidants that surround and protect this organism are so powerful. They come right to you. Everything in here becomes you because this is a single cell, basically bacteria. It's that basic. It's called cyanobacteria, blue-green algae. This is the first life form on Earth. This is over 4 billion years old. This is the spark of life. And if you understand life, like these I brought these books for fun. But this book, man, The Lives of a Cell, it'll explain what I'm saying in a very clear way. That the way that multicellular organisms are just simply single-cell organisms that are coordinating, communicating with each other, that's all we are. We, as an organism, are simply a community of 20 trillion individual organisms that have all decided to relate to each other for mutual benefit. That's all you are. God doing it all. But because of that, when you take basic life forms like this, it incorporates into your body structure. Because you are this. When you understand this stuff, it really makes sense why this is different. People say all the time, I talk about this, I go, yeah, I have my own superfood. I laugh to myself. Because there is nothing, this is a unique thing. You can talk about how good everything else is if you want to, but it has absolutely no relationship to this. Nothing does. This is extremely special. It's harvested sustainably, it's from Oregon. It is what it is. I don't know why it's so good. Is it natural that we have access to something from so far away? No. But I like to suggest that extraordinary circumstances call for extraordinary measures. And we're in an extraordinarily negative, dark place. So if we have found something that is extraordinarily light and powerful, I don't really need to wonder where it comes from. I'm just going to start using it. I don't need to really doubt or ask, well, is that the most natural thing that I'm going to use this thing, even though it comes from a faraway state? And how could I have gotten it if I was in nature and 40,000 years ago? Well, you know what? 40,000 years ago, I wouldn't have needed this. I would have been living in line with nature, would not have had all these diseases, would not have had diabetes, would not have any of these problems that this stuff is going to really help me to solve. Okay? I've been using this stuff for 18 years straight. The owner of this company is in his 70s, looks like he's 50. This stuff is very valuable. The anti-aging tendencies here, and it's just because of what it is remarkable. But it's not just this. It's this plus exercise. And a mental awareness that really is really more geared towards compassion and a sense of humor, and less towards judgment, criticism, and deprivation. And remember, this is a gift. All of this knowledge is a gift. Eating in the bounty of heaven is a gift. Eating from the plant kingdom is a gift. People think, oh, well, how do you do it? How do I do it? It couldn't be any easier. How do you eat that and call it gourmet? That's a better question. How is eating a baby animal that's got tortured for 3 weeks gourmet food? How is that living the good life? Going to a steakhouse. Like, that's the good life. Ruth Christie. You're only like living large if you're going to these steakhouses and you're getting these bottles of wine, you're drinking this meat. That is supposed to be living large or living in a high quality of existence. To me, that's living in hell. That's living in hell. Having to partake in vampire tendencies and be drunk and unconscious for the sake of your ego and not hanging out with people that aren't even your friends. And that's okay. But that to me is kind of like to me, going to a 5-star vegetarian, vegan restaurant and being able to order anything off the menu and knowing that God has been sustained and no one's been hurt and everything is just wonderful, that is awesome. Or just having a banana. If you don't walk into every supermarket that you go to and don't want to drop to your knees and give thanks for all the food in there, you don't know what you're doing and you're blind. Okay? Every supermarket that has a fruit section, if you don't just want to, at least in your mind, say, thank you, God. Thank you for this opportunity. Because so many people don't have fruit. Some people live without fruit their whole life. They live without food. You have so many gifts, we have so many gifts. The more that we are established in the gratitude of that, the higher our consciousness, the more we're able to integrate all of this stuff. Okay? And it's just really important, not just for us as people, but for us as leaders in the community. Okay? That you can act in silence. That's what leaders do. People just follow. But they don't follow talk. Unless it's a fake leader. They don't follow action. So we act, we express, then people will come and ask questions. And if they're asking questions from a genuine standpoint, we will answer. But we will not volunteer and force our knowledge on people that are not ready. Okay? It's like trying to pour water into a full glass. This is the Zen thing. Empty your glass before I can even start to fill it. You know, you want to talk about food, it's like talking about this, you're like running around trying to pour water in all these full glasses. But they're full of stuff that's not even water. You know, it's full of muck. You know, you want to get them clear out that stuff first, and then give them some knowledge when they're ready. And usually it's going to be the yoga, the exercise is going to make them ready. Don't ever forget, nobody works with food first. Get exercise first. Okay? Exercise first. That brings the strength of the will. Then they can start talking about food, and then the two things will work together, and that's our positive feedback cycle, which is the entire thing that we're working towards. Eat smart, feel a little bit better, do a little bit smarter thing, do more exercise, feel better, eat smarter, do more exercise, feel better, eat smarter, and we just spin up. The common thing that a lot of us find ourselves in is the opposite, which we've described. We feel like crap, we eat like crap, we eat like crap, we feel worse, we don't exercise, we feel even worse, then we don't exercise, we don't eat, and then we just kind of spiral, and then before we know it, 3 months later, and we can't even recognize ourselves in the mirror. And that has never happened to me because I have a metabolism very strong, but I can imagine that happening, very slow degradation over months and years. All of a sudden you're like, who the hell is that? And it happens very slowly. Okay? And our job is to perceive that it's happening and start to just recognize we can get off that cycle and onto this other one, starting with exercise. Yoga is probably the better one. We think that yoga is a pretty good one. But also then eventually get into the food. The food is just this. Eat according to your biology. Eat as a human. It's not a big deal. Okay? It's not a radical thing. It's not radical. This is just eat like a human. That's it. Alright? Namaste.